car, surrounded by an endless sea of red taillights, stretching into the distance like fallen stars against the asphalt. The clock on your dashboard mocks you with each passing minute. Your hands grip the steering wheel a little tighter, your jaw clenches. The familiar fire of frustration begins to burn in your chest. Sound familiar? This moment, this exact moment of helpless irritation, is where ancient wisdom meets modern life. This is where the philosophy of the Stoics transforms from dusty, academic theory into a practical tool for inner peace. 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced his own version of traffic jams. Not cars, but the endless delays of governing an empire. Managing rebellious provinces, waiting for messages from distant battlefields. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca dealt with his own annoyances, delayed letters, canceled meetings, the petty politics of Roman society. And Epictetus, once a slave who understood powerlessness better than anyone, taught that our freedom lies not in controlling our circumstances, but in mastering our responses to them. These ancient minds never sat in rush hour traffic, never heard a car horn, never watched their GPS reroute for the third time. Yet their wisdom speaks directly to that moment when you're trapped behind a slow-moving truck, when your neighbor's dog won't stop barking, when your internet fails just as you're about to submit something important. The Stoics understood a fundamental truth that we've somehow forgotten in our age of instant. Everything in the universe doesn't always convenience. Life doesn't promise us smooth commutes, perfect timing, freedom from minor irritations. What it does offer us, what it always offers us, is a choice. Not the choice of whether traffic will clear, not the choice of whether people will be considered, not the choice of whether technology will work perfectly, but the choice of how we respond. The choice of who we become in those moments when nothing goes according to plan. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his personal journal that would later become Meditations, reminded himself that the impediment to action becomes the path forward. The obstacle becomes the way. That traffic jam isn't just delaying your journey, it's offering you something far more valuable than a few saved minutes. It's offering you the chance to practice patience. It's giving you an opportunity to exercise that most crucial muscle, self-control. Every honking horn around you, every aggressive driver cutting into your lane, every red light that seems to last forever, these are not interruptions to your day. They are your day. They're life presenting you with a curriculum and wisdom. When you find yourself stuck in traffic, surrounded by the symphony of urban frustration, horns blaring, engines revving, the general chaos of human impatience, you have a choice to make. You can join the chorus of annoyance, adding your voice to the collective outcry against circumstances beyond anyone's control. You can let your blood pressure rise, your mood darken, your entire day be poisoned by 15 minutes of delay. Or you can remember what Epictetus taught his students in ancient Greece, that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The traffic exists, the delay is real. But your suffering, your anger, your frustration, that's optional. Think about the absurdity of road rage for a moment. Here we are, sitting in climate-controlled metal boxes, listening to music or podcasts, more comfortable than most humans in history could have imagined. And yet we're furious because we're moving at 25 miles per hour instead of 60. We're angry because our journey will take 35 minutes instead of 25. We've created suffering out of the gap between our expectations and reality. The Stoics had a name for this gap. They called it the source of all human misery. Not the events themselves, but our judgments about those events. Seneca, who lived through the reign of Nero and understood chaos better than most, wrote extensively about the waste of human energy and anger. He observed that anger is a temporary madness, a brief insanity that accomplishes nothing except the destruction of our own peace. When you honk at the car in front of you, when you shout at the traffic light, when you curse the construction, workers who are simply doing their job, who exactly are you hurting? The universe remains indifferent to your frustration. The traffic doesn't magically clear because of your anger. The only person experiencing the poison of rage is you. Chosen to swallow a bitter pill in hopes that enemy, but as a teacher? What if, instead of seeing those extra minutes as time stolen from your day, you viewed them as time given to your day, time to breathe deeply, time to notice the world around you, the changing sky, the architecture of your city, the small dramas playing out in other cars, time to practice gratitude for the marvel of modern transportation, for the fact that you have somewhere to go, someone expecting you, a purpose driving your journey. The ancient Stoics were masters of this mental aikido, taking the force of circumstance and redirecting it into something useful. Marcus Aurelius, managing the vast complexity of the Roman Empire, taught himself to see every delay, every unexpected challenge, every moment of waiting as an opportunity to practice virtue, patience in the face of frustration, equanimity in the midst of chaos, kindness toward those who might be causing the very problems he faced. He understood that external circumstances are just the raw material of character development. How we handle these circumstances, that's where character is forged. Consider the driver who cuts you off in traffic. Your first instinct might be anger. How dare they? Don't they see you? Don't they respect basic courtesy? But the Stoic perspective flips this entirely. That person who just cut you off is just giving you a gift of a choice. Will you choose anger or will? Will you choose understanding? Perhaps they're rushing to the hospital for an emergency. Perhaps they're having the worst day of their life. Perhaps they're simply human, flawed and stressed like always. You don't know their story, you do know yours. And in your story, you get to decide whether you respond with the poison of rage or the medicine of compassion. This isn't about being passive or accepting their behavior. It's about recognizing what serves you and what doesn't. Anger serves no one when you're stuck in traffic. It doesn't change the situation, it doesn't spin your journey, it doesn't improve your day. But patience, understanding, even simple acceptance, these serve you profoundly. They keep your nervous system calm, your mind clear, your heart open. They preserve your energy for things that actually matter. The Stoics understood that we live in two worlds simultaneously, the external world of events and circumstances, and the internal world of our responses and choices. Most people spend their lives trying to control the external world, fighting traffic, complaining about delays, demanding that reality conform to their preferences. But the wise person focuses on the internal world, the only realm where they actually have complete sovereignty. You cannot control whether there will be traffic on your route today, but you can absolutely control how you experience that traffic. You cannot control whether your flight will be delayed, but you can control how you use that delay. You cannot control whether other people will be courteous and considerate, but you can control whether you remain courteous and considerate regardless of their behavior. This is the famous dichotomy of control that forms the backbone of Stoic philosophy. There are things within our control, our thoughts, our attitudes, our responses, our choices. And there are things outside our control, traffic patterns, other people's behavior, other technology failures, the countless variables that make up daily life. Wisdom lies in learning to distinguish between these two categories, and then focusing all our energy on the things we actually can influence. When you're sitting in traffic, getting angry about the traffic is focusing on something outside your control, but deciding to use that time for deep breathing, for gratitude practice, for listening to something educational and beautiful, that's focusing on something completely within your control. Epictetus, who taught his students from his own experience of powerlessness, emphasized that this distinction isn't just philosophical theory, it's practical wisdom for daily life. Every moment of frustration, every surge of anger at circumstances beyond our control is a moment we're giving away our power. We're allowing external events to dictate our internal state. And to remember what's truly ours to control, we reclaim our power. We become the authors of our own experience, regardless of what's happening around us. Traffic jams are perfect laboratories for practicing this wisdom, because they're so universally frustrating and so completely beyond our control. You can plan your route, leave early, check traffic apps, take alternate paths, but ultimately, you cannot control starting your day stressed and starting it centered. The great Stoic teacher Seneca wrote about the preciousness of time. It's how it's the one resource we can never recover once it's lost. But he also understood that time spent in acceptance and wisdom is never truly lost, while time spent in anger and frustration is always wasted. Those minutes you spend raging in traffic are minutes stolen from your life, energy burned for no purpose. But those same minutes spent in patience, observation, maybe even joy, those are minutes added to your life, moments that nourish rather than drain you. Think about the difference between these two approaches. When you're stuck behind a slow-moving vehicle on a single-lane road, the first approach, checking your watch repeatedly, sighing heavily, maybe honking your horn, feeling your stress levels rise as you calculate how late you'll be. Your jaw clenches, your shoulders tighten, your mood darkens. By the time you finally get past that slow vehicle, you're carrying the poison of that frustration with you. It affects how you interact with the next person you meet, how you feel about your day, maybe even how you sleep that night. The second approach, noticing that you're behind a slow vehicle, accepting that this will add a few minutes to your journey, using those minutes well. Maybe you notice beautiful scenery you usually rush past. Maybe you practice deep breathing exercises. Maybe you use the time to appreciate having a car, having somewhere to go, being healthy enough to drive. Maybe you send loving thoughts to the slow driver ahead of you, recognizing that they might be elderly, cautious for good reason, or dealing with car problems. This second approach doesn't just change your commute, it changes you. You choose patience over frustration, acceptance over anger, strengthening those neural pathways, making it easier to choose wisdom the next time. You're literally rewiring your brain for peace instead of stress. It's for resilience instead of reactivity. Marcus Aurelius, governing the most powerful empire in the world while dealing with plagues, wars, and political upheavals, wrote in his private journal that every moment offers us the opportunity to practice virtue. He didn't exempt himself from life's annoyances. He used them as training ground for character development. That colleague who talks too loudly on phone calls, that neighbor whose music is always a little too loud, that construction project that starts too early in the morning, these aren't interruptions to your spiritual practice. They're your spiritual practice. The Stoics believed that the universe is perfectly designed to give us exactly the challenges we need to grow. Not the challenges we want, not the challenges we think we can handle easily, but the challenges that will stretch us, test us, ultimately strengthen us. From this perspective, every annoyance becomes a gift wrapped in frustrating packaging. Every delay becomes an opportunity to practice patience. Every rude person becomes a teacher of compassion. Every technical failure becomes a lesson in adaptability. Consider how this perspective transforms your relationship with life's inevitable irritations. Your internet is running slowly just when you need to send an important email. Instead of cursing your internet provider, you can recognize this as a moment to practice equanimity. Maybe you use the delay to double-check your work, making it even better than it would have been if sent immediately. Maybe you step away from the screen for a few minutes and notice something beautiful outside your window. Maybe you realize this is a perfect time for a brief meditation or some gentle stretches. The slow internet hasn't ruined your day. It's offered your day a different shape, different rhythm. The queue at the grocery store is longer than expected. Instead of fuming about poor staffing or inefficient checkout procedures, you can use this waiting time as a gift of unerring moments of invisibility. Do you practice gratitude for the abundance of food available to you? Do you offer a genuine smile to the cashier who's clearly having a stressful shift? Maybe simply enjoy a few minutes without rushing, without an agenda, without anywhere else you need to be in this exact moment. Seneca taught his students that every situation, no matter how seemingly negative, contains within it the seeds of wisdom and growth. The art is learning to find those seeds, to nurture them, to let them blossom into understanding. When someone cuts in line in front of you, you could focus on the unfairness, the rudeness, the violation of social contract. Or you could use this moment to practice equanimity, to remember that you don't know what urgency might be driving their behavior, to choose kindness over judgment. Both responses responses are available to you in every moment. The choice is always yours. This isn't about becoming a passive doormat or accepting genuinely harmful behavior. It's about learning to distinguish between what serves your highest good and what doesn't. Sometimes the most powerful response to rudeness is calm dignity. Sometimes the wisest response to delays is graceful acceptance. Sometimes the strongest choice is to remain undisturbed by circumstances that would typically disturb us. The Stoics understood that our external circumstances are often beyond our control, but our internal circumstances are always our responsibility. You might not be able to control traffic patterns, but you can absolutely control your traffic mindset. You might not be able to control other people's behavior in public spaces, but you can control your response to that behavior. You might not be able to control when technology fails, but you can control how you handle technological failures. Marcus Aurelius. Dealing with the enormous pressures of leadership during one of history's most challenging periods, developed practices that we can apply to our smallest daily annoyances. He would remind himself each morning that he would likely encounter difficult people, unexpected problems, and circumstances beyond his control. Rather than dreading these encounters, he prepared for them mentally. He committed to responding with patience, wisdom, and virtue, regardless of what the day might bring. This wasn't passive resignation, it was active preparation for excellence. Imagine starting your commute with the same mental preparation. Instead of hoping for perfect traffic conditions, expecting courteous drivers, and planning for everything to go smoothly, you can mentally prepare for the opposite. You can commit in advance to responding with patience if traffic is heavy, with understanding if other drivers are aggressive, with good humor if unexpected delays arise. This preparation doesn't invite problems. It simply ensures that you're ready to handle problems wisely when they inevitably appear. The beautiful paradox of this approach is that when you're mentally prepared for difficulties, they seem to affect you less, even when they occur. And sometimes, mysteriously, they seem to occur less frequently. Perhaps this is because a calm, prepared mind notices solutions and opportunities that an anxious, reactive mind misses. Perhaps it's because patient energy tends to create more patient circumstances around us. Or perhaps it's simply that difficulties feel smaller when we're internally larger, when our sense of peace doesn't depend on external cooperation. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. The traffic jam is neutral. It's neither good nor bad in itself. It simply is. Our judgment that it's terrible, unfair, or intolerable is what creates our suffering. But if we can adjust our judgment, if we can see the same traffic jam as an opportunity for patience, practice, for mindfulness, for perhaps connecting with a friend through a phone call, then the same external circumstance becomes completely different in our internal experience. This shift in perspective is available to us in every moment of frustration. The person speaking loudly on their phone in a quiet space isn't inherently ruining your peace. Judgment that they're ruining your peace is what creates the disturbance. If you can shift that judgment, if you can see them as perhaps dealing with an emergency, or simply unaware of their impact, or just human and imperfect like all of us, then your peace remains intact regardless of their behavior. The Stoics practiced this perspective shift as a daily discipline. They would intentionally reframe challenges as opportunities, obstacles as teachers, annoyances as chances to practice virtue. This wasn't positive thinking or denial of reality. It was a practical recognition that our interpretation of events has more impact on our well-being than the events themselves. When you're sitting in unexpected traffic, you have a choice about how to interpret the situation. You can see it as the universe conspiring against you, as proof that your day is ruined, as evidence that you have terrible luck. Or you could see it as the universe offering you exactly what you need in this moment, perhaps a forced pause in your busy day, a chance to practice patience, an opportunity to arrive at your destination calmer than you would have if you'd rushed there stress-free. Both interpretations are available. One creates suffering, the other creates growth. The choice is always yours. Seneca wrote extensively about the relationship between time and tranquility. He observed that people frustrated by delays, always fighting against the natural pace of events, end up with less time for what truly matters and less peace in the time they have. But people who can flow with delays, who can find value in unexpected pauses, who can remain calm when plans change, these people seem to have more time and more peace, even when facing identical external circumstances. This principle applies beautifully to modern traffic situations. The driver who's constantly changing lanes, honking at slower vehicles, getting frustrated by every red light, they might save a few minutes here and there, but they arrive at their destination stressed, angry, and depleted. The driver who maintains a steady pace accepts the flow of traffic. Delays for breathwork or gratitude practice, they might take a few minutes longer, but they arrive calm, centered, and energized. Which approach actually serves the driver better? The Stoics would say that the second driver has practiced the art of turning obstacles into opportunities. They've taken something that could have been a source of stress and transformed it into a source of strength. This transformation doesn't happen automatically. It's a skill that must be developed, a muscle that must be strengthened through regular practice. But every traffic jam, every delay, every minor annoyance is an opportunity to develop this skill further. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way forward." This isn't mystical thinking, it's practical wisdom. When we're forced to slow down in traffic, we have the opportunity to practice patience. When we encounter wrong behavior, we have the opportunity to practice compassion. When technology fails us, we have the opportunity to practice adaptability. The very circumstances that seem to be blocking our path forward are actually creating the path forward. If we're wise enough to see it, consider how this applies to the small annoyances that pepper every day. The elevator that stops at every floor when you're running late. Instead of checking your watch repeatedly and sighing in frustration, you could use those extra moments for deep breathing, for setting intentions for your meeting, for practicing presence. The elevator hasn't delayed your day. It's offered your day a different rhythm, a chance to arrive more centered than you would have if you'd rushed up the stairs. The person ahead of you in the coffee line who can't decide what to order, who asks multiple questions, who seems oblivious to the line forming behind them. Instead of tapping your foot and checking your phone with increasing irritation, you could practice patience and send them mental kindness, recognizing that they're simply a fellow human trying to make a good choice. You could use the delay as an opportunity to appreciate the luxury of having so many coffee options, or to notice the artwork on the cafe walls, or to smile at the barista who's handling a difficult situation with grace. These aren't grand philosophical statements. They're practical applications of ancient wisdom to modern circumstances. They're ways of reclaiming your power in situations where you might feel powerless. Ways of finding peace in circumstances that typically generate stress. The Stoics understood that life is largely composed of these small moments waiting in. Lines sitting in traffic, dealing with minor inconveniences and delays. Why we handle these moments shapes who we become more than how we handle the major crises that occupy so much of our attention. Major crises are relatively rare. Minor annoyances are daily. If we can learn to meet minor annoyances with wisdom and grace, practicing for the major challenges, improving the quality of our everyday experience. Epictetus taught his students that freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to want whatever happens. This doesn't mean becoming passive or accepting harmful situations. It means developing the inner flexibility to flow with circumstances beyond our control, while taking appropriate action where action is possible. When you're stuck in traffic, appropriate action might be calling ahead to let someone know you'll be late, or choosing a different route if one becomes available. But inappropriate action would be honking angrily, weaving dangerously between lanes, or allowing your frustration to poison the rest of your day. The distinction between appropriate and inappropriate action becomes clearer when we remember the Stoic focus on what we can and cannot control. We cannot control traffic patterns, but we can control our route planning and our departure time. We cannot control other drivers' behavior, but we can control our own driving behavior. We cannot control other drivers' patience levels, but you can control your own. You cannot guarantee that your commute will be smooth, but you can guarantee that your response will be wise. It's guaranteed that you can always choose wisdom regardless of circumstances. It's the foundation of unshakable inner peace. Seneca wrote that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. When your smooth commute ends in unexpected traffic, a new opportunity begins. The opportunity to practice patience, presence, and acceptance. When your quiet workspace ends with construction noise, a new chance begins. A chance to develop. Concentration that doesn't depend on perfect conditions. When your efficient technology fails, a new possibility opens. The possibility of discovering alternative approaches. Of connecting with others who might help. Of remembering life before. Everything was automated. The Stoics saw life as a series of these transitions. These moments where one situation ends and another begins. Rather than fighting these transitions, rather than demanding that everything remain convenient and predictable, they learned to find opportunity in every change, growth in every challenge, wisdom in every annoyance. This perspective doesn't eliminate life's inconveniences, it transforms them. Traffic jams still slow your commute, but they no longer slow your peace. Rude people still behave rudely, but they no longer disturb your equanimity. Technology still fails occasionally, but it no longer fails your day. The external circumstances remain the same, but your internal experience becomes radically different. Marcus Aurelius. Writing his thoughts late at night after long days of governing an empire, reminded himself that every moment offers the opportunity to practice virtue, patience in delays, kindness toward difficult people, courage in uncertainty, wisdom in confusion. The specific challenges change. Traffic jams replace political rebels, slow internet replaces delayed messengers, noisy. Neighbors replace demanding senators, but the opportunity to respond with virtue remains constant across centuries. This is perhaps the most beautiful aspect of Stoic wisdom, its timelessness. The external forms of our challenges evolve, but the internal skills needed to meet those challenges remain the same. Learning to find peace in Roman traffic delays prepares you to find peace in modern traffic delays. Learning to remain calm when ancient technology failed prepares you to remain calm when contemporary technology fails. Learning to respond with patience to ancient forms of rudeness prepares you to respond with patience to modern forms of inconsideration. The Stoics believe that philosophy should be practical, that it should change how we live, not just how. We think every traffic jam becomes a philosophy classroom. Every delay becomes a laboratory for testing your commitment to inner peace. Every annoyance becomes a mirror, showing you whether you're living in alignment with your values or being controlled by external circumstances. When you find yourself getting frustrated by some minor inconvenience, you can pause and ask, what would Marcus Aurelius do in this situation? How would Seneca respond to this delay? What would Epictetus see as the opportunity hidden within this annoyance? These questions don't just change your response, they connect you to a tradition of wisdom that spans millennia, reminding you that others have faced similar challenges and found ways to transform them into sources of strength. The goal isn't to eliminate all frustration, or to pretend that delays and annoyances don't affect us. The goal is to develop the inner resources to handle these inevitable aspects of life with greater grace, wisdom, and peace. To respond rather than react. To choose our internal experience regardless of external circumstances. To find the path forward through every obstacle that life places in our way. This is the art of turning impediments into instruments, obstacles into opportunities, annoyances into teachers. It's available to you in every moment of frustration, every experience of delay, every encounter with inconsideration. The traffic jam that makes you late becomes a chance to practice acceptance. The rude customer service representative becomes a teacher of patience. Now, the construction noise that interrupts your concentration becomes an opportunity to develop focus. That doesn't depend on perfect silence. Each of these moments offers you the same fundamental choice. Will you allow external circumstances to determine your internal state? Or will you claim your power to remain peaceful regardless of what's happening around fighting against things you cannot control? Or will you invest it in developing the qualities that no one can take away from you? Patience, wisdom, compassion, inner strength. The ancient Stoics knew that this choice is always available in every moment, regardless of circumstances. When you're sitting in traffic, waiting in line, dealing with technical difficulties, or facing any of the thousands small annoyances that make up modern life, you have complete sovereignty over your response. You can choose frustration or acceptance, anger or understanding, stress or peace. The circumstances are often beyond your control, but your choice is always within your power. This is more than philosophy, it's practical magic. The magic of transforming ordinary irritations into extraordinary opportunities for growth. The magic of remaining calm in chaos, patient in delays, kind in the face of rudeness. The magic of being unmoved by things that move everyone else, of finding peace in places where others find only frustration. When you master this art, every traffic jam becomes a meditation retreat. Every delay becomes a gift of unexpected time. Every annoyance becomes a chance to practice virtue. You begin to move through the world differently, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed your relationship to the world. You've learned the secret that the Stoics discovered 2,000 years ago, that true freedom lies not in controlling your circumstances, but in being undisturbed by whatever circumstances arise. This is your invitation to join this ancient tradition of wisdom, to practice this timeless art of inner peace, starting now. Starting with whatever minor annoyance or delay you encounter next. The traffic jam waiting for you on your evening commute. The slow elevator in your office building. The person ahead of you who seems to be taking forever to complete a simple transaction. Each of these moments is offering you the same opportunity that Marcus Aurelius found in the challenges of empire, Seneca discovered in the chaos of Rome, that Epictetus uncovered in the limitations of slavery. It's the opportunity to remain free, peaceful, and wise, regardless of what life presents. The opportunity to turn every obstacle into a stepping stone, every impediment into an instrument of growth, every annoyance into a teacher of patience. This is the path the Stoics walked, and it's the path that remains open to you in every moment of every day, starting with the very next time you find yourself stuck in traffic, wondering why life can't be just a little bit easier. Remember, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you. The choice is yours, the power is yours, the peace is yours, if you're wise enough to.